today we're going to do a lineup of a Coleman 237. And this is one that I got that was in like a bunch of different pieces. And it was missing the globe, it was missing the ventilator, I believe it was missing the bail also. So yeah, it was missing a lot. And but getting a 237 not always all that easy. So I said, well, let me just go ahead and nab this one. And I got it for a really good price off of eBay, right? So the interesting thing is I got more into this whole bit of lantern collecting and stuff like that. I started realizing things about this that are really kind of strange. So for one, I do not believe that the fount that's on here is actually a 237 fount. I think this is more likely like a 220 or a 228 fount, because the collar doesn't want to sit on where it's offset, so it's kind of a little bit off center. But you know, I got this thing to be a user, and so I wasn't particularly worried about it. Same thing with the ventilator here. The one I got for it it's kind of beat up, it's kind of rusty. It's seen better days, and sitting out here it's rusting more. So that kind of tells me I should probably use it more. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to show how to light these things up, because I see so many times people lighting up kerosene lanterns and they go through like this incredible rigmarole and all this other kind of stuff to get it to work. And I'm like, wow, they're not that hard. They're really easy. They're like, oh, just crack the fuel. I'm like, man, if it's preheated, you can just crank that fuel open and she'll just pop into life, and that'll be that. But before we get there, what I want to do is I just want to kind of show you what this looks like. And honestly, what I should have done is I should have, this bail is super hard to get out of here. This is a reproduction bail, but boy, it has got so much spring strength in it, and I've tried to stretch it out, but it still is really not wanting to do that. This is a great workout though. So yeah, that's pretty tight. So what we're going to do is take the top of this off and take a look at it and see how much similarity that we've got to the its brother or sister, I don't know, the 236, which is the white gas fueled version. So the thing that you're going to notice when I take this off and the globe off is how much it looks like a 236, because it pretty much is a 236. The real difference that you see in it is the generator, which is much larger diameter, and it has a preheat cup, and then it's got a little finger here that holds that preheat cup down. If you ever work on these and you replace the generator, make sure that finger goes back on that preheat cup, because it keeps it from going whoop this way and wrecking that mantle. So yeah, always you want to make sure that whenever you run a kerosene lantern of any type and they got that preheat cup, you have some way of holding that preheat cup down. So yeah, if it gets turned on its side or something like that when you're moving it, that it doesn't destroy the mantle. I think the mantle that I got in here right now is probably one of the Peerless 111s. So I believe that's what I've got on it. It's been a while since I've put it on there, and it's actually been a while since I've run this. Once I got it running, I was pretty happy with it, but then I got the 236 running, which we saw like one of my very first videos about. I had a problem with it kind of like making that chugging noise, and I ended up solving that. So you can check that other video. Maybe I will put it like over, I don't know, here, so that way you can take a look to see how I solved the chugging or slurping sounds that it makes. So anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and put this back together. I'm not gonna fill the preheat cup when it is open like that, because I just want to show you how it gets filled when you are when it's fully assembled. This is the fun part, is lining these holes up, and while doing your workout routine here to get it to go into the hole. And I think I just completely missed. You'll know you missed if it's easy, right? So that is the yeah, that's the challenge. Okay, yeah, this is probably going to take me just a minute to do. So let me get this one in here. So that one's in, that's good. Gently turn this around. You got to kind of move the vent a little, and then stab that in there. There we go. All right, not too terrible. Apologize for the cricket. Now it's quiet, but it'll probably start up in just a second. But that cricket is just annoying as all get out. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and pump this up. You can just let it roll with as much pressure as you want to put in here. Always, make sure that's closed first. But yeah, you can just really kind of go crazy with the pressure because it doesn't really care, right? So I don't know, 30 pumps, something like that. But yeah, you can just go to town, because when we preheat, we're going to make sure that we preheat properly, and the amount of pressure that we have in there will just immediately turn into vapor, and we won't have a problem. So you have to have something like this. I made this out of this is actually a straw from a spray bottle, so that's what I use for that. Apologies for mopping here. It is a hot, steamy day on the Texas Gulf Coast. I think the outside air temperature is only like 88 degrees, but the dew point's like 80, and it feels like 105. So it's pretty bad. And of course, I don't have a fan in here because there'd be a whole lot of fan noise. So you just get to kind of watch me do this. So I just basically get the preheat cup full. So I'm just squirting the little hard to see, but I want to make sure I get enough in there. So this is just alcohol, denatured alcohol, which is this one. This is different than what you would get at a grocery store. Even the 90% doesn't burn as well as this stuff. So get the denatured alcohol that also says on it, great for alcohol stoves. This burns really, really well. The other stuff, the stuff you get out of the pharmacy, the 70% and the 90% will burn, but they tend to burn really smoky, and they're kind of they're not that great. I think I've got about enough in there. Put a little bit more. There we go. But yeah, so I just made this out of like a little squeeze bottle, and then the straw from a spray cleaner. You can use a brass tube in here, which in fact I think I bought. I'm not sure what I did with it, but at any rate, the brass one will obviously be heat resistant, where this one isn't. So if your lantern was to run out of fuel and you went to go light it again, if you put that plastic one in there, it would pretty much melt, right? So what we got to do now is we're going to get some fire to it. And since all of my other little mini torches have died and I have nothing but these junk garbage matches, we're going to have to light the matches with a torch, and then light the alcohol. Try to put this away while not burning myself. Get this up in here, and there we've got the alcohol lit. So now you basically just let this go for a while. If you have used the lantern previously and there still might be some kerosene in the generator, you'll see the lantern trying to catch as the fuel starts to vaporize in the generator. So the nice thing about these is that these generators are still easy to find, although the lanterns aren't, which is kind of odd. But I really do like the kerosene. One thing about it is it's not anywhere near as flammable as Coleman fuel is. You don't have the problem with great big whoops and stuff like that. If you spill it on the ground, you can wipe it up, and kerosene, if it's just on the ground, it's even hard to light right there. Whereas like when you use gasoline, you'll I'm sure you've probably seen the YouTube videos where people try to start a campfire or something like with gasoline, and they end up with this huge fireball, and it's really hazardous that way. But yeah, so it's also going to, as you see, it's going to start to get a little bit more stronger flame as the alcohol starts to heat. And as it heats, it starts to vaporize more. And as it vaporizes more, it generates more heat. And then, you just kind of keep going and going. So you'll start to see that alcohol boiling in there. And I'm just going to give this cleaner a couple of spins while we're sitting here. And maybe we'll give it a few more pumps. I just put some fuel in here, so it's probably about halfway full. But Yeah, so I usually let this burn down to like it's almost completely out. And that's one way you can be sure that you will have had enough preheat on the generator. Um, you don't need to take the top off. You don't need to take the globe out. You don't need to do any of that other kind of nonsense as far as I'm concerned. I see people make lighting these things so difficult, and they're really not. The other thing too, which is interesting to note with these, is that on the Coleman fuel systems, they have a fuel air tube which mixes air into the fuel for like the first quarter turn or so. It's actually, it'll mix it for about 2 turns, but anyway, they say open a quarter turn and let it start, and then when it's burning brightly, you open it all the way. These do not have that system because we were preheating here. So basically, all you do is that once you get it going, and it's boiling away in there pretty good right now. But once you get it going, you just basically slam her open. Just open it full up and it will go. If you've preheated properly, then everything will be fine. If you haven't preheated properly, then you're going to have a mess. So, and by mess, I mean a big fire. But the thing is, you just got to kind of watch the cup and watch it kind of burn down, and don't really rush the process. So there's still a fair bit of fuel in there too, so we're just kind of babbling away here a little bit to keep y'all entertained while we do this. But I think probably now we're probably good. That's how it works. You just turn it on all the way. This is how a kerosene lantern is supposed to be lit. It's simple, it's easy, and it just is like it's a very, very easy process. So don't let anyone tell you anything different. You got to do all this disassembly and reassembly and special this or special that or whatever it is. Baloney. Preheat well, whap open the valve, instant light every time. So yeah, I love this thing, man. It is bright, bright, bright. This is a 500 candle power lantern, and it will run for a good long time. The cool thing about it, yeah, the kerosene is like completely odorless. It's like even more odorless than Coleman fuel. You can always smell a little bit of Coleman fuel, but this burns so hot that you get absolutely no smell out of it whatsoever. But you do get plenty of heat, which is the last thing that I need. So there you go. That is the Coleman 237 kerosene lantern. These things are built like tanks, and they're so simple because they don't even have that fuel air system. They basically have this valve, and that is kind of it. A tip cleaner and a valve, and of course they come apart really easy because there's only one nut that holds them in. You unscrew that, whole top comes off, collar comes out. You can get down to the fount here in just moments. But generally speaking, they don't need a whole lot of anything because they just work. And since the kerosene has a little bit more lubricity to it, everything just seems to work a little better. Your cap screws on easier because it's always got a little bit of that oil that's present in the kerosene. Everything just seems to work a little nicer. So I highly recommend picking one of these up if you don't have one in your collection, because they are fantastic, and they are just they're just a really, really great lantern. They really are. And I love my 236, and I love my 237. You know, the 236 is I got that one because it was just like having a giant 500 counter power Coleman, and you know, I had to have a matching set with it. So anyway, that is it for this particular episode. So thanks for joining. We'll see you next time. So until then, keep them lit.